Okay, so let's see. Um, this is a dimple maker, for lack of a better term. You just get it on your X, push down on it, and it didn't actually fire. It's supposed to click. Give me a little snap. There we go. And so it's got a little hammering action. And what I'm going to do is on the Forstner bits, there's a little bit of a point in the center. And so I'm going to use this to guide them. And I'm going to make the larger hole where I'm going to recess the nut into a pocket. And so that has to go between the two pieces of wood. And so I'm going to do that first because it's going to leave a little bit of a dimple, and then that's going to guide the next bit through. That's going to be the size of the threaded rod, and that will go out the back, and then that will go into a nut on the other side. So this is the size of the nut, and then as you can see, the bar is quite a bit thinner. But I think I'll make the big hole first, and I'll show you the dimple if I can. Boom. Okay, so this is the nut that, or the size of nut that works with the Moxon hardware. And as you can see, this is bigger, and this is quite a bit smaller. So here's the issue. If I go up to the bigger one, which is pretty close, that's going to mean that this nut has that much wiggle, that much daylight. And that's on the sides. The sides need to be tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the smaller one. It's going to make a smaller hole here. It's going to make a smaller hole, but I'm going to be able to use a chisel. I'm going to trace this around, and then I'm going to chisel up to those lines. So I'm going to find a chisel that matches the side here. And in this particular case, I'm looking at millimeters. So I'm looking at what, about 16 millimeters. So I need to figure out what that is in inches. So you can tell me on the back. It doesn't really help me. But anyways, I'll find a chisel that is about 16 millimeters, and then I will actually align the nut so it's going this direction. So it's this flat part is even with the top and the bottom, and because I think it'll cut a little bit less grain, so it'll be a little bit stronger. I mean, it's a minute issue. It's a pretty big piece of wood, but I'm going to go with this anyways. So it's going to be there to there, flat to flat, and then I'll be able to chop around it, and this will hog out or clear out most of the material and make the chiseling work pretty quick. So that is the plan. That's about perfect. So if I need to add a little bit of depth, I'll put this into my drill, and then I'll just gently scoop it out, or I'll just bring it back to the drill press and use the same bit. So anyways, that's going to be pretty good in terms of dropping that bolt in. So what I'll do is I'll try to center it. I'll trace around there, and then I will use a chisel and chop that out so I get a nice snug fit, because I don't want that coming loose. So that was it for the drill press. On to the other side. Actually what I'll do is I'm going to drop this bit into there, and I'll use that actually to set the depth gauge for the other side, and hopefully this doesn't wiggle. So after that, I'll just punch all the way through with a smaller bit, and then I'll go to the other side, and I'm actually going to drill 2 holes, so I've got a little bit more twist in the front board, and that's going to be it for the drill press. Okay, I mentioned how the Forstner bit leaves that little dimple right there, and so if you do need to center up the next bit and it's a different size, that will still act as a guide in that little belly button right in the middle of that hole or crater. What I think I'll do is actually just use my small bit, and I'll come in the back and then it should just blow through that hole right there if it's measured properly. Otherwise, I can go through this way, and then I will know that it's centered because that's the very tip of the Forstner bit. So maybe I'll do that and just use a backer board to prevent this from blowing out. You put this on top of another board and it keeps the fibers from breaking, because this tool presses down quite a bit. That's why they call it a drill press. It gives you a lot of pressure, and you can kind of have the back side of the board explode, and that's not good. Okay, so I measured the threaded rod, and this is slightly larger than the threaded rod, but that's not a problem. It's just barely smaller, or barely larger. So it's going to make a slightly larger hole in the threaded rod, and that's fine. It's going to give me, just a hair over, but that'll be comfortably adequate to get the threads in there clear. This isn't going to screw into the wood. It's going to go into the bolts, and so this is the bit here. I don't know if it's a 3/4 or what. Okay, so here's what's going on. I am slowly deploying the new bit that's going to pass through, and so what's happening is it's centering on the dimple. The point on this Forstner bit is going into the point that was on the previous larger bit, and so I'm going to twist everything over towards my clamp here. Let me show you my clamp. So this guy right here, there's a spring-loaded function, so I drop it down. 1, 2, 3. I think this is from Woodcraft. So super handy to kind of grab onto stuff. And then over here, so that is centered. I just need to go all the way through, and so I have just this piece of pine under here that the ash is sitting on. And so I am going to turn this on and drive it all the way through this board. Hopefully. Just go slow, let the chips kind of clear out. And when you're using a drill press, usually it'll go pretty slow through the hard stuff, and then it'll kind of pop when you get to the soft stuff. I feel like I should be through. I don't know what's happening here. All right, that's got to be through. So, let's take a look. Nope, it's not actually through. That's so weird. I'm going to slowly drop the bit into place. Let me shake this out. And then it should drop into position. There we go. All right, so I'm using the bit as a guide. I'm going to clamp it down again, and there's going to be a point at which it kind of goes pop and goes right through into the soft stuff. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. I thought maybe just the bit was so sharp that it was cutting right through the ash and was digging its way into the pine. So anyways, let's see what happens. Okay, that sounds like the ripping sound of a bit that has traveled through. So yeah, there it is. I'm going to say that's through. Okay, so funny thing happened on the way to the Moxon Vise. What happened was I marked the front first and used a ruler or marking gauge where it measured in a certain distance. So that was this line. And I just brought it over to this piece and automatically did that into the wood. Same thing on this side. The problem is that this piece is about 2 inches shorter. Oh, we're like 5,000 millimeters. What is that? Anyways, these holes are in the right place, and the problem is I did not adjust for the amount of shortness in the front board here. At some point, this is going to get cut down probably, and this will be like a little ear for clamping onto. But these holes are over here, and those holes are over there. So I'm just going to run through it and add this here really quickly. I'm going to do that off camera because it's going to look exactly the way it did before, just a lot smarter this time around, I hope. And anyways, then I'm going to find some dowels up here in the ceiling, and then maybe use a combination of epoxy or quick wood, and either that or just make one giant drill hole through with one big dowel and just clean that up. So you're gonna see a plug of some sort when we go to chop out the nut with the chisels here. So stay tuned, true believers. The flipping idiot continues to live up to his name. Okay, so what I've got is an adjustable square here, and I believe the edge is pretty square. And so I'm going to eyeball this without my glasses. And actually, I'm going to go a little farther. And then I'm going to flip it the other way and go left-handed with the pencil. Actually, I'm going to go this way. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a Moxon Vise. The front plate, the board kind of floats around anyways quite a bit, and so it doesn't have to be, it's not joinery, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But this gives me an idea of how to chisel it out and about how big the chisel needs to be so that I can go from the maximum diameter to maximum diameter here. And so I just need to mark this out on the other side over there and on the flip side underneath and over in the corner. That way they'll all be chiseled out the same amount. So that's what's going on.